So here we're in verse 20. Jesus says, because of your little faith, uh, because if you have faith as grain of a mustard seed, well, however big that is, it was littler than that. You shall say to this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Jesus describes our faith as little, and we can assume based on that 17, we could rule out the disciples of who he's yelling to right there. But he does say that whatever he encounters here was a mountain. Okay, in 20, whatever this boy is struggling with, in God's eyes was a mountain. And so we're going to look at this mountain in a different way, because I saw it the other day and I was like astounded at how clever Jesus is. Me and my buddies, we were reading this last week, and we were all trying to say, gosh, I wonder who Jesus was yelling at. That seems off the chart rude to humiliate his disciples there or anybody in the crowd. And why does he say it the way that he did? And so we were throwing out ideas, and I had no answer. And then one day I came home and was reading something, and somebody had given the pieces of the puzzle in this comment underneath this YouTube video that they weren't even talking about these verses, but some random person made mention of the significance. And once you see it, you won't unsee it. Okay. It also maybe helped you guys in seeing things in your own studies as you look, because of how clever Jesus is. Okay. So we're going to see this through the eyes of prophecy. And quite frankly, if you look closely, it all hinges on the actions of the boy with the demon in verse 15. So we'll go through this kind of slow, but in verse 15, this is how it describes what the father says. He describes it as, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he's epileptic. Now, and just if you look these words up in Strong's, epileptic in my Bible means to be moonstruck or a lunatic, or he's crazy. We don't really use that word moonstruck, but that's what it means. So his son's crazy. He falls into the fire, which is literal. It's also figurative. Okay, and then let's move on to the third item, that once you get these, especially the last two, you realize what's being referred to here. The word water. So he falls into the fire, he also falls into the water. Water as in, or as if rainy. Okay, so rainy, whether it's literal or figurative. Those are the two words, fire and water, water as if raining. Okay. Now let's before I give this away, what do we know? What would we think about? We'll start with water. What does water, especially when we mention rainy, refer to in the Bible?
Blood.
Blood?
Yeah.
Water, rainy. Rainy, rain. Huh.
Provision?
Who might that remind you of?
Noah.
Noah. Who said that?
Okay. Megan.
Meg. All right. Let's look at this. Let's turn to Matthew 24:37 through 39. Matthew 24:37 through 39. Remember, seventh-day prophecy here that's being revealed in a very, very subtle way here. Matthew 24:37 through 39. Somebody read that.
As the day of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. Oh, for in those days before the flood, They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day Noah boarded the ark. They didn't know until the flood came and swept them all away. This is the way the coming of the Son of Man will be.
Okay, so notice in this passage, Noah's days, or the days of Noah, is associated with the second coming of Jesus. Okay? Same way that, well, before we get there, let's turn to Genesis 6, 4 through 8. Genesis 6, 4 through 8.
Six, 4 through 8. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heaven, for I'm sorry that I've made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord.
Okay, so here's the days of Noah, which appear. We find that somehow everything's gone bonkers and everything's wicked and every thought across man's heart is evil. And it seems to stem from those spirits that came down and had relations with the daughters of men, and the offspring were the Nephilim, or the giants. But notice the direct link between the wickedness of what occurred in Genesis 1 through 7, and then boom, immediately Noah's described there. Now, Noah's given, I think, 120 years or something, and then God, I think, destroys the earth in the flood. But we see water was the judgment. So what was found before this was the actions of mankind somehow related to this with the spirit beings or whatever creating the Nephilim, where suddenly everything on earth is wicked. There's some link there. But we see, since we've already made the connection that Jesus says in Matthew 24, that the days of Noah will be just like the coming of the Son of Man, and we find the reference to the water, wink, wink, nod, nod, Noah, is one of the two things that the demon does to the boy on day 7 when Jesus comes down from the mountain to the people. We see that the first thing he sees is the wickedness that was there in Noah's day, somehow relating to the Nephilim, the sons of man, and all the wickedness that opened. That's one of the two things. So that brings us to the fire. So any guesses as to what the fire would be, except for Debbie, since she already knows?
Canada.
That, oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's it.
That is good.
Sorry.
Any other? No, that's okay. That was great. Any other thoughts of what the fire might represent?
Like
Only-
God burning away. Like that type of fire.
Well, yeah, I mean, fire metaphorically, and we see how Jesus just used the wink, wink, nod, nod of water towards what he encounters, hint, hint, Noah, and the demonic spirit that, by the way, were way too strong for his closest disciples even to cast out. So seemingly, whatever this is on day 7 that Jesus encounters will be something that only Jesus is able to get rid of in some form or another. But let's look at the fire.
It's not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is it?
No, that's a good guess, though. How about this one? How about Luke 17, 28 through 30?
Oh, okay.
You want to read that?
I'll read. Likewise, just as it was in the days of Lot, they were eating and drinking, buying and selling, planting and building. But on the day when Lot went out from Sodom, fire and sulfur rained from heaven and destroyed them all. So it will be on the day when the Son of Man is revealed.
So here Jesus seems to say that the days of Lot, as well as the days of Noah, will be just like it was on day 7, or the day that he comes again onto the earth. Now let's turn to Jude 1 verse 7. This will tell us the judgment of Sodom. Jude 1 verse 7.
In a similar way, Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. They serve as an example to those who suffer the punishment of eternal fire.
Okay, so what was your say? What did you say? The fornication and what immorality?
Or immorality and perversion.
Oh, perversion. Okay, mine said strange flesh. That's a term used for homosexuality and so forth.
Oh, strange flesh, it says in King James. It's what?
What?
Homosexuality?
Yeah, but not just homosexuality, because you read about Lot just before he was taken out of Sodom. The gay men that saw I guess the handsome angels go into Lot's house wanted to have sex with the 2 angels. Again, off the chart perversion, but not just fornicating perversion, but homosexual perversion, like off the chart stuff here that God judged. All right, so we see the days of Lot being referenced in what the demon does, the fire. We see the days of Noah being referenced in the water, that the demon throws the crazy son into. Okay, so in these verses, Jesus equates his second coming with those Noah and Lot and the associated judgment here. Hint, hint. So therefore, the state of the lunatic son is metaphoric for what? Could be one.
The days,
Go
the
ahead.
days
World?
of,
The
What?
end of the world?
Well, sorry, Debbie, what did you say?
I said, the same exact environment we see now that existed with Lot and Noah. I mean,
Right.
there was a lot of perversion.
Right, off the chart perversion. So the state of the son is, again, it's whether it's the world he's talking about or the church or both upon Christ's second coming. So possessed by a spirit that throws him into the fire would suggest rampant homosexuality like Sodom, all the crazy LGBT, BTQ, and all the associated offspring, and what you go through if you don't accept it also as well, like the surrounding the houses of Lot and the angels and how they banged on the door until God blinded them. And they couldn't find the door, I think is how it refers to that in Genesis. The same way also the possessed by the spirit that also throws him into what happened in Noah's day, the deep wickedness of the world. as a result seemingly of the giants or the Nephilim, the Rephaim we've seen before, and what the consequence was for that occurring. But it's great wickedness in other ways too, which I'm sure is much deeper. We looked at the Genesis 6 before and looked in Enoch and read about all the craziness that was happening. But we see disciples in Jesus's day and the disciples at his second coming are powerless against these strong or fierce spirits. And you could probably say, because I know a bunch of you, I know I was talking to Jason the other day about this very same thing, that he was angry. My brother-in-law is the same way. I am too. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. And there's nothing you can do, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Not to mention all the insanity that's happening in the world, that you know, everywhere, in every single area. This is day 7, and this is what I don't think it stops until Jesus comes, however that is. But if you look at both examples in the Old Testament, God seems to do what in both of these situations? What does he have to do? Like, what did he do in Lot's day?
He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right. What does he do in Noah's day?
He destroyed the world.
So the suggestion seems to be only, now he doesn't destroy the boy, but what does he destroy within the child?
The
wicked.
demon.
Yeah, the wickedness that was within, and he destroys it, which I think are probably an element of mercy there that wasn't really shown back in Genesis. That here he doesn't. He may rebuke the boy. We were talking about earlier about where he says Jesus rebuked him in verse 18, and the demon went out of him. That's how it says. And you'd say, okay, I get it, Jesus, you should rebuke the boy. The world today should be rebuked, but there's way more. Certainly we don't have any authority over it, and certainly the disciples had no authority over dealing with this demon, despite probably, as a matter of fact, if you go back and look up the instances where Jesus commissions them to go and cast out demons and heal the sick, it's in Matthew 10. So he's already long since commissioned them, but they weren't able to do it with this particular demon. Well, that's because that's the state of the world that we live in today. Can you imagine trying to come against, the spirit of the age in day 7 that we see with our own stinking eyes right now?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a question. Now that you understand the metaphor that Jesus is, the picture he's painting,
Yeah.
why does Jesus say, how long, oh, wicked and perverse generation? That's obviously what we see today. Why does he say, how long shall I be with you, and how long shall I bear with you?
Because it keeps happening. It happened in Noah, Lot.
Okay, so it's repetitive. It's repetitive things that happened prior that God wiped out. Jesus is also 2,000 years showing the vision. So he's looking down the annals of time to what?
Right now.
To today. So he's looking down the annals of time, and it's funny because search for how long shall I blah blah blah. It happens in 3 instances. Every single one's associated with this, because this is a metaphor that he's speaking down the corridors of time, saying to our generation, how long shall I bear with you? How long shall I be with you? Because really at that time, he'd been through Israel, I know more than 3 years, maybe 3.5 years at most. But now he's talking, well, I've been here for over, into the 3rd day here. How long do I need to be with you? And he's speaking those words to us today.
Yeah.
So it's, again, when you see how he hides things, and once the clues are revealed, you're like, oh my gosh, he's so stinking smart. Once you realize he's used this example to reveal what he's going to come against, and only he's going to be able to deal with in the seventh day. And then, by the way, it's the first thing that he comes against. So seems to be his bullseye is going to be on the target of the generation that we see that are strutting their stuff around, certainly during the month of June, if you know what I'm saying, Pride Month, strutting their little peacock feathers all over the place. He is perfectly aware of this, and how this shows up is another matter altogether. I have the foggiest idea how this translates into his coming on day 7. I don't know, but there it is. That's really interesting because it does say we are all powerless against what we see, and I imagine it'll be probably even worse. Here's one other thing. Before Jesus takes his disciples up to the mountain, his closest 3, they've already had a run-in with the guy with the dual spirits, and they failed at making a dent in the spirit that throws them into the water and the fire. So we'd say, okay, well, what does that translate into years? I have no idea, but it was there when they went up the mountain, because more than likely those disciples, Peter, James, and John, must have had, if not direct, thing that happened alongside of this, they certainly knew of it. And when they came down, they had already had an experience with him and failed. So it was only Jesus's second coming that has any impact at all.
Huh.
And his second coming, however long this event takes, is the first thing he seems to go after, at least according to the types and shadows, which he's so smart and clever as to hiding the water and the fire. Unless if somebody gives you the clue, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so deep of how he pieces that together. So
Yeah, and you don't even see it or think about it until now.
which would lead you to the wonder all the different ways that he speaks that we as people just don't even see, we don't even recognize.
Right over our heads.
Yeah. And we think, no, I've read that before. Or misidentify, or even getting back to Elijah, misidentifying and looking for the wrong things. And yet that was his intention of doing. But this is different. This is he. Now it's funny, if you read this same thing in the other 2 examples, it's not the fire and the water that's mentioned, it's other things that are mentioned. And
Right, he screams, it throws him into convulsions, and he foams at the mouth. I wonder what all that is.
I don't,
And it also says it's destroying him.
perfect, because that's what it's doing to our world right now.
Yeah.
It's completely destroying our world.
Amen.
It's interesting. It does seem like there's a fighting, wrestling that the demon wants to do before it lets go. At least in the other examples, not as much here, but in the other ones, it kind of wrestles inside of him and falls to the ground and makes the white stuff, like you were saying. So what does all that mean? I don't know. Except that this is not lost on Christ, who says, oh, believe me, I'm strong enough to handle that.
Yeah.
Jesus is here. Well, of course he's here. He's the Holy Spirit too. But do you think you ever like see him, and we just don't know it's him?
With our physical eyes or with our spiritual eyes?
No, like physical.
I think there are times when he comes to us that we don't recognize him. Yes, I do.
Do you guys ever have dreams, and in the dream there's some it might even be a mother, father figure, a grandpa, or whatever, a boss, and that boss is in the background orchestrating things on your benefit or something like that, and it's almost like he wants to remain out of the spotlight, But when you ponder it, if you do ponder it, you say, I wonder if that was Jesus or the Holy Spirit hiding things or orchestrating things on my behalf in a positive way in my dream in some way, shape, or form. Have anybody ever had that experience where they pondered that?
I mean, maybe. I don't really remember my dreams like you do, Darren.
I can't say that I've had that dream that I remember recently. I think that just shows that you do recognize him. That's what I think.
Well, I recognize this, and this is like, to me, this is ginormous, especially being Jay and I were just talking about that. Debbie and I were talking about it at the pool. My brother-in-law and I were talking about it. Aaron and I see it. Gusty's, it's just like, it's painful to not know what you're getting, usually through the TV or social media or any of that stuff. So to see Jesus and him saying, oh, I got, believe me, this isn't lost on me, is enriching. But I would have never seen that if that person hadn't said, oh, the fire's Noah or fire's Lot and the water's Noah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that fits like a glove, like.
Yeah.
See, I feel like
Huh?
I would like, Dara, if I would have saw that, I would have like emailed that person. Can you do that? Can you email them and be like, oh my gosh?
Well, it was a lady's dream that was talking about a talking rainbow.
Oh,
He was talking about how filthy the rainbow, but it talked and everyone listened to it. And the rainbow would direct nations and had all this great authority, and it came further and further down to the earth. And I was just thought, yeah, I see that. And I think we've all seen that. It's just a physical picture of what we all recognize, right? But when I started to read the comments of what people say, and somebody said, they started mentioning this Matthew 17 verse completely out of context, because nobody was even reading Matthew 17 or if they did, I missed it. And he just gave me the clues, and I was like, I wasn't even, this person didn't even mention Matthew 17. So I was.
wow. So God talks to you through text too.
Yeah.
YouTube comments, Megan.
YouTube comments. Like, I'm not too old.
Old.
I think that's so cool.
YouTube, social media.
Yeah, like I can use social media.
But you guys do see that, like, wow, like that's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah.
Never heard that before.
To see this kind of thing, my gosh, if I had the ability to see this stuff and now again, maybe this is nothing more than us being closer to the mountain or something like that, and he's given us understanding stuff we never even. Now, some of this stuff, somebody even mentioned this, and I wondered about it. But you know how like there's verses in like Isaiah that talks about in that day the world will be, like it'll be polar shift or something like that. And some people said, oh, that must mean the world's gonna flip and the North Pole will be the South Pole. And somebody said,
No.
talking about like the state of man, how man becomes a woman and woman becomes a man, or maybe that's really, but we'd never even back in like Daniel's time or Jesus' time, nobody would ever have even considered that.
No.
Because this would have never happened. And now that we're in the midst of this craziness, and Jesus or Matt Daniels says at the time of the end, things, knowledge will be increased. Well, maybe that's because you're like, oh, wow, is that what that was talking about? We would have never considered before. I don't know.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how many other things you've misread or been taught incorrectly.
Well, it's just a spiritual understanding, Dee. I don't think it's easy I think Jesus gives this, or the Spirit gives the spiritual understanding when he's ready.
Right.
Looking for it.
Fair enough.
Right.
So there's probably a ton more in there. So the next time we do this, you guys bring your pearls to the table.
You're giving us a lot of credit, Dar.
Yeah, right?
You ask us questions and we all sit there.
We're
You're
like, I don't know, tell us.
Is there a right answer? I don't know.
I
I
don't
think, I think the bright windows down here made me understand more.
think so.
Yeah, my kid, I feel like when I'm upstairs, I'm like, I feel like it's so enclosed. But my kids and my family are at or Pat and the kids are at Phillies game. So I was like, oh yeah, and I have to stay down here because Beckham will poop on the floor.
Oh,
Poor guy.
we're going tomorrow night.
Oh, are you? I was like, I thought they were gonna cancel it.
Because of the air
Yes.
quality.
Yesterday they did. They rescheduled it to today, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today was really bad.
Yeah, and they closed the pool today.
Oh,
They did.
wow.
Yeah.
They,
Oh, wow.
they closed school.
Wow, they closed the pool at my gym too.
Was
And
it
they
out?
closed their school, right?
Yeah, I wish they closed work. That would have
Wait,
been nice.
It smelled so bad in my hospital. I walked in and I was like, it smells worse in here than it smells outside. I was like, that means that the filtration in here is terrible. So I called the maintenance and I'm like, are we doing anything about this awful smell? And they're like, no, like we have really good like filtration. I was like, no, we don't. It smells awful. So
Ugh.
then I said, well, can you bring up a HEPA filter? Because that's what they keep the rooms clean for the COVID patients. So I knew we had a whole bunch of them. And she's like, well, I can't bring it, but you can call Equipment Depot. So I called Equipment Depot and it was a huge thing. Oops. And I had told my manager, I'm like, because I was like, oh, she's gonna be like, oh, you can't have that out here. And I'm like, no, like you already told me I couldn't wear a mask, and then I had to mandatory wear a mask. So I don't care what you say. So I called her and I said, I'm gonna order this. And she was like, okay. So I did, and I put it right behind me and stuff.
Yeah.
That is so smart. I was like, you know what? You just gotta, it smelled awful.
Did
Ugh.
you get the smell out?
I don't know.
Did you just get used to the smell?
No, if you walked outside, it didn't smell. If you walked inside the hospital, and honestly, I thought, okay, maybe it's just me or something. And then everybody else kept saying it. I was like, oh no, it
What?
doesn't.
No.
It just smells like smoke, like it did last night.
Yeah.
We're off next week, guys, because we're celebrating our anniversary.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
Anniversary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But so you're saying you didn't have school today, or your kids didn't have school?
Yes. They said, I knew it. I just knew it. I was like, they're going to cancel school. But then I also thought they
Why
would
did you
push back graduation. They didn't, thank God.
They canceled it this morning or last night?
They called it like 5 something, and I was like, it's gotta be Ryan. Ryan's the only one not here. What's wrong, Ryan? Didn't agree.
That's funny.
It was a recording that there was bad air quality in the school.
Wow. I'll tell you, they never cancel the bank.
Has
They-
that ever happened? Does it? Because I asked Pat, I said, because he lived in California. I'm like, did that happen like a lot? And he's like, no, I've never. I know. I mean, he was only probably there like 5, 10 years, but like, I was like trying to think. I mean, I guess it happens in other places.
Did he live near the forest? Where did he live?
Orange County.
Oh, okay.
Was
I don't
that
know.
near
I just,
where the
you know what? I
forest
just,
fires?
I don't know. I just assumed like California, they always have forest fires.
The news guy said the last time we had bad air quality like this was like 2008.
Really? What was the air quality like? Because why was it?
I don't know, he just said it was 2008.
Oh,
So
I
we had
don't-
like a cold, like a red, you know what I mean? Like we had like whatever the color, red. We had purple.
yeah. Yep. That impacts people.
But you guys were okay. Like my eyes were burning, my nose was burning, my throat was burning.
Yeah, my eyes and throat.
Fine.
were
My throat was burning when I breathed through my mouth. If I breathe through my nose, it was fine. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Actually had a sinus headache.
Yeah.
It just seemed to get worse. And then I thought, I'm gonna go right to my office, turn the HEPA filter on and sit in my office with it. And I felt better after like 5 minutes.
That's
That's
fine.
good.
I got leg cramp, so I'm gonna walk around, but I can still hear you.
Take magnesium. Oh, wait, you do. You do
No, I-
already.
Stop, because it was stopping me up.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I thought it was the other. I thought magnesium made you go.
I know, I don't know, something
It-
stopped up.
Oh, it makes me poop. If I
Yeah,
take it for leg cramps, I can't take it that often, but if I do, it makes me poop.
What's that? Magnesium?
Yeah.
Magnesium glycinate doesn't make me poop.
What kind?
No.
What you take, Deb? I bet Donna's taking the wrong kind.
What?
A magnesium.
Is it-
Glycinate. For sleeping.
Yeah, that doesn't make me poop. If I take another kind, because I bought another kind, it made me poop.
Yeah. All the mag drugs usually make you poop, like milk of magnesia, mag citrate,
Yeah.
and even the mag I take for cramps in my legs. Cause I get them too. I'll wake up in the middle of the night with a cramp in my leg.
Stinks.
Ugh. I'm waiting for dog diapers.
Oh, I feel so bad for him.
so do I.
He like wakes up and then he like runs to the back door.
Oh.
And his butt's also, oh, I feel so bad.
He has like a rash.
No, yeah, like his butt looks like it's like it was like all raw.
Poor baby. They think that's from eating people food? Doesn't he always eat people food?
No, I don't feed him. I mean, we don't feed him people food. I mean,
don't?
Pat, like occasionally will give him like a couple things. Lily, no, because she poops all over the place.
What did he eat?
I don't know. Everybody said watermelon.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Watermelon.
Well,
I- Lips moving. What'd you say?
Wow.
What?
I don't know. What'd you say? Did you give him a lot of?
wait. Raise your hand if you gave the dogs watermelon.
Oh, yeah, I did. I
My
told,
mom always feeds them.
Dang.
My
Hey,
mom
I'm
said
gonna
she
give you
fed 'em.
trazodone next time you come over.
Mama said she did too.
Oh, boy.
She did? She
I
gave
know-
him watermelon?
I know you fed them too, Deb.
What did I give him?
I don't know, but I know it. Probably a cookie.
I did not. I swear I did not. Not this time.
Oh, this poor Poochie.
Meg, you can have some of my trazodone for Casey for your dogs.
Oh.
Isn't
Or for
that make him sleepy though?
You take trazodone every
No.
night?
No, I don't take trazodone. I got a script for Casey for the graduation party, so I can give it to him and
Oh.
not keep him upstairs in my bedroom.
Mom, was that the one? Was that the one we gave Beckham and he like fell over?
No. That was Beckham, you mean? You mean
No,
Bud?
Lily, but Reggie.
Reggie, right. No, that was a dog sedative. It was actually something I've never heard of.
That's
And
funny.
I mean, it
Literally was like
completely-
on all fours and he's like, boom.
boom. She's like, Megan, like, you killed our dog. I was like, no, I just gave him a sedative. But he actually literally fell over.
Dog.
Brian Thorpe had to carry him upstairs.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we've done stuff like that to our dog too, just to
Uh,
calm his nerves.
Yeah. I
Actually
just
pathetic. If you do too much, you start like shaking a little bit. It's actually,
oh no, you're like, he's seasoned.
well, like they had us give him trazodone and what else was it again?
I don't know.
It was like the
Like Gammon?
gabapentin, something like that.
Gabapentin?
Was that what it was?
Oh,
We
Gabapentin.
still have it up in the closet. We never give it to
No,
him.
it's more like a benzo.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I give a benzo to my cat. He gets so calm.
And the
He's
trash.
just,
Our dog.
yeah, I don't